phenomenal class. You will learn a lot, and I hope you have remembered to take a look at your Dutch hormone test, because a lot of that's going to make a lot more sense and how it applies to you as an individual. So without further ado, our class leaders for today, Chelsea and Roselle.
All right. How's everybody doing today? Good?
Great.
Okay, so today we're going to learn all about hormones. Can anybody tell me some things that you know about hormones?
They're a part of your
We
body.
all have them?
Yeah.
We all have them, yes?
There are male hormones and there are female hormones.
Yes, there are. Anything else? Okay. Yeah, exactly. Well, the body has over 600 hormones. We won't be able to touch on all of them today. While they are all very important, we will cover a few of the more prominent ones. Okay, so today we're going to go over the endocrine system, what it is, what glands are included, as well as the nervous system. We will be going over hormones today, what they are, what their job is, and what types of hormones we have. We have a fun game with you all today. It's going to be called Guess That Gland.
So that'll be the colored handout.
Yes, and then of course we'll talk about hormone imbalances. Okay, so what are hormones? Hormones are chemical messengers that are secreted or released from glands in the bloodstream that affect cells in other parts of the body. There are two types of hormones. We have our fat-soluble hormones or steroids, and then we have our water-soluble hormones or peptides. Now, fat-soluble hormones can enter the cell due to the cell membrane being made of fat, and your water-soluble hormones cannot enter the cell, but they do bind to the surface of the cell. And we do have a little image of that for you. So then we have our water-soluble versus our fat-soluble, and it enters the cell while the water-soluble is on the surface of the cell. A couple examples of fat-soluble hormones would be your cortisol, estrogen, and progesterone. And a couple examples of peptide or your water-soluble hormones would be your insulin. So then what do hormones do? Well, they regulate complex processes like growth and fertility. They influence function in the immune system and even alter behavior like your fight or flight response. And they coordinate metabolism and your sexual function.
So we're going to describe our endocrine system. It's basically a collection of glands that send chemical messengers, i.e. your hormones, and then release them into your circulatory system so that they can reach their target cells. And then, so a gland is any structure that secretes a hormone. So if you see on this picture and on your color page, all of the hormones or glands are separate. They're not connected. Like if you think of your circulatory system, everything's connected by blood vessels. Your nervous system, everything's connected by nerves. So that's something that makes the endocrine system special, is that they're all the glands are rows. They're not connected. And then, so here we're going to show how your endocrine system and your nervous system are essentially the two main bosses in your body. Both of them traffic information and tell your body essentially what to do and how to do it. So they differ by your nervous system is a lot quicker. Those electrochemical messengers go through your nerves very quickly, and then your endocrine system goes a lot slower because the glands are all separated and they use your circulatory system to send the messages everywhere. So since the endocrine system's way of getting message to you guys is slower, it lasts longer as compared to your nervous system. So now that we know what the endocrine system is, we're going to dive into your brain. And start with the glands there. So on that colored page, you see the brains on the front. Yeah. So we're going to start with the hypothalamus. So your hypothalamus is basically the master switchboard for your endocrine system. It produces releasing and inhibiting hormones that essentially tell the other glands in your body what to do. So can anyone guess what number the hypothalamus is?
3.
Say? All right. And then we can go on to our pituitary gland. So the pituitary gland is known as your master gland. You have two sections in your pituitary gland, posterior and anterior. The posterior in women stimulates the contractions of the uterus and the mammary glands. And in everybody, it promotes the production of water in the kidneys. And then the anterior pituitary gland, that tends to do a little bit more. It stimulates the growth throughout the entire body. It stimulates the ovaries and testes, the thyroid, and your adrenal cortex. So all of this is stimulated by the master switchboard, your hypothalamus. So which number do you think is the pituitary gland? Any guess? You only have 2 more left.
It's one or two, right?
Yeah, so 2. Yeah, because you see it has like 2 little sections on it. So the anterior and the posterior pituitary. And then the next one is the pineal gland. So the pineal gland, basically its main function is to produce melatonin, which tells your brain when it's time to sleep. So if you remember back to the sleep class that Miss Chelsea taught, you know that sleep is very important. So our pineal gland is also very important. And which number do we think it when it is? 3. All right. So now we're going to go into guess that gland.
Guess that gland. Alright.
So on the back of the page that has your brain, you'll see the same image. We're going to go with number 1.
Anybody have any ideas of number 1?
It's pointing to the little yellow things. Yeah, so those are parathyroid. Parathyroid. Okay, so your parathyroid is really important because it promotes the role in your bone growth. It tells your body how to divvy up the calcium and potassium in your blood, and it helps you not lose too much calcium during your journey.
Alright, so now that we have number 1, parathyroid, does anybody know what number 2 is?
Like Miss Mary said, that's your thyroid.
Thyroid. Okay. So your thyroid is made up of T3 and T4. T3 stimulates and maintains the metabolic process, as well as regulated by your TSH, or your thyroid stimulating hormone. It also produces calcitonin, which lowers blood calcium levels and regulates the calcium in the body. So then, of course, we know of thyroid disorders. We have our hypothyroidism, which is a low functioning thyroid. It shows your TSH functioning high, but your T3 and your T4 will be low. That is because although the thyroid stimulating hormone is stimulating the thyroid, it cannot produce enough of the T3 and T4. Some nutritional causes for hypothyroidism could be from low iodine, zinc, selenium, and iron. The thyroid is the only gland in the body that uses iodine to produce this hormone. So if you have low iodine, then you won't be able to produce your thyroid hormone. And then, of course, selenium, deficiency in selenium has been linked to a lot of autoimmune diseases just within itself. So low selenium level can cause hypothyroidism also. And some autoimmune hypothyroidism diseases would be Hashimoto's. And some symptoms of hypothyroidism could include fatigue, constipation, low body temperature, depression, low libido, hair loss, and dry skin. And then we have your T3 and your T4. T3 is your triiodothyronine, and T4 is your thyroxine. These cells combine iodine with amino acid called tyrosine, and then that's how they make T3 and T4. The T4 is then converted into T3 in the liver, and then it is released into the bloodstream and transported throughout the body where it controls your metabolism. And sometimes if your metabolism slows down, then things tend to Alright, and then we have hyperthyroidism, which is more of or overactive thyroid. So that's going to be a high T3 and a high T4 level in the body. Some autoimmune diseases from hyperthyroidism could be Graves' disease. Symptoms do include rapid heartbeat, increased appetite, a tremor, sweating, difficulty sleeping, and even a change in bowel patterns. And Graves' disease is when the body makes an antibody, which causes the thyroid gland to make too much of the thyroid hormone. All right, can anybody guess what number 3 is? All right, number 3 is our thymus.
Okay, so the thymus is very important in the production and the maturation of your T cells. So those are a specific type of white blood cell that goes after threats in the body like viruses and bacteria. Another thing that makes the thymus super important, or cool I think, is that it's largest in children. So as you hit puberty, that's when you reach your total number of T cells and your thymus reaches its largest size. So as you grow older, your thymus shrinks and is slowly replaced by fat. So by the time you're like 75, your thymus is more fatty tissue than the tissue that was producing your T cells.
Okay, can anybody guess what number 4 is? I heard it. Yes, we have your adrenal glands.
So your adrenal glands are split into two between the adrenal medulla and the adrenal cortex. The adrenal medulla produces epinephrine or norepinephrine, or adrenaline and noradrenaline, and those hormones are regarding to raising your blood sugar level, increasing metabolic activities, and constricting certain blood vessels. And that part of the gland is regulated by the nervous system. The cortex produces glucocorticoids like cortisol, and that raises your blood sugar and promotes the absorption of sodium and the excretion of potassium in the kidneys. So that is regulated by that big word, ACTH. And then I'll go back into that a little bit more.
So then, of course, we get adrenaline from our adrenal glands, and adrenaline is the fight or flight hormone, which allows you to battle a danger head-on or escape to safety. Persistent high levels of adrenaline from chronic stress, however, can increase your risk for anxiety, depression, heart disease, and weight gain, which is why laughter may be the best medicine. And then, of course, we have adrenal fatigue. It is a term applied to a group of non-specific symptoms. So although there is no scientific evidence that adrenal fatigue exists, some of its proponents can claim that it claims that the condition is due to overworked adrenal glands producing too little hormones. Some of the symptoms associated with adrenal fatigue could be tiredness, a craving of salt and sugar, reliance of stimulants like caffeine, and troubles going to sleep and waking up. People who are more likely to contract adrenal fatigue would be shift workers, single parents, people with alcohol or drug dependence, and people who have really stressful jobs. So, of course, a healthy diet can always help keep everything balanced. So just kind of keep an eye on what you're eating and just make sure everything is balanced to keep your immune system strong, and that'll help you fight adrenal fatigue.
Alrighty, so we're gonna go back a little bit to the stress class, and we'll talk about the fight or flight response. So say you're asleep in your comfy bed and suddenly you hear a fire alarm go off. That's going to trigger a stress reaction to you. So that's going to be your stressor, and that stressor is going to trigger your hypothalamus to create the corticotropin releasing hormone, that's the CRH, which is going to go down to your anterior pituitary, which is going to release the adrenocorticotropic hormone, or ACTH. And that ACTH is going to tell your adrenal cortex to produce cortisol. So while all of these hormones and that reaction overall is great with day-to-day stressors like an increase in blood sugar or your blood pressure getting a little too high, under major stress and constant stress, that exposure to cortisol is not good for your body. It causes your body to have an elevated blood pressure, can put a lot of excess glucose in your put a lot of excess glucose in your bloodstream, and then stimulate some of your other bodily functions like digestion to slow down, mess with your immune system, and then it stops sperm egg development.
Okay, any ideas of what number 5 is?
Pancreas.
Yes, ma'am. We have your pancreas. Be sweet on you. So the pancreas produces insulin, which of course can lower blood glucose levels, and glucagon, which can raise glucose levels. So then something we associate with insulin and your pancreas would be diabetes. So diabetes is when the body produces insulin, but the target cells become resistant or unresponsive to the insulin. It can also be caused by the body not producing enough insulin in general. The glucose doesn't enter the muscle and the liver like it should, and that causes the sugar to build up in the bloodstream, which causes complications. Insulin is important for the body to be able to use the glucose because glucose is fuel for your cells, so that gives you your energy. Can anyone tell me any complications that can arise from having diabetes?
Like your wounds won't
Poor circulation,
your wounds won't heal properly.
right? Wound healing, nerve damage, you have kidney damage.
Cataracts.
Exactly, eye damage, it could lead to stroke, but also inflammation. Chronic inflammation is like a burning in the body, and it's known to cause insulin resistance. So inflammation can be caused by stress. Do you remember the 3 types of stressors?
Clinical stress, physical stress, and emotional stress.
Close. We have environmental stress, physical stress, and chemical stress. And chemical stressor would be like artificial sugars or toxins like cigarette smoke, and that can cause the inflammation. And again, drugs do not solve the problem, they only mask the problem. So then just a little chart of the body. It shows the stomach converting food into glucose, as well as the pancreas releasing the glucose into the bloodstream. But then if the cells become resistant to the insulin, then the glucose tends to build up in the bloodstream, and it doesn't absorb into the muscle, which causes the glucose levels to be in the blood.
So these are some good lifestyle approaches to help avoid insulin resistance. So mainly cutting out bad carbs like hamburger buns, excess chips, fries, donut, for whole grains that give you more fiber while you're eating them with the carbs. And then overall limiting your sugar, no extra candy. Even the fruits that you eat, some fruits have a lot more sugar than you might think. So making sure that you eat a diet that's more natural and balanced, and eating slowly and stopping to eat when you're full. Stop eating when you're full. And then drinking water about 30 minutes before your meal. That'll help avoid you eating too much. And then something else that you can implement is intermittent fasting that can help you control your diabetes by dropping your A1C, and it has benefit of weight loss. So there's different types of intermittent fasting. It can range from, only eating 2 meals a day, so some people skip breakfast and only eat a regular sized lunch and dinner, or you can do a little more of a hardcore regimen where you eat every other day. But if you are diabetic and you choose to do intermittent fasting, it's good to talk it over with your provider so you don't go into hypoglycemia where your blood sugar goes too low.
All right, and then we have number 6. Any ideas? And men and women? Either one.
According to this, it's called gonads.
Yes, your gonads and your ovaries.
Okay, so your gonads are essentially, women have ovaries, men have testes, so the grouping them together, just call it the gonads. So it starts off the stimulation for those to create from your hypothalamus, and that goes to your pituitary, and that's going to let your FSH, the follicle stimulating hormone, and your LH, the luteinizing hormone. So that's what produces your estrogen and androgens in male and females, and then those both go towards your sperm and egg cell development as well as secondary sex characteristics. So, like I said, the ovaries produce estrogen and progesterone, and those stimulate the uterine lining growth as well as secondary female characteristics, and are regulated by the follicle stimulating hormone and the luteinizing hormone. And the androgens support sperm production as well as male secondary characteristics. So both of those are helped by the adrenal gland. So male and women have women have testosterone and men also have estrogen. So in the opposite sex, you have your adrenal glands to help with that production.
Okay, and so we have estrogen, that's known as the female sex hormone, and one that teenage girls know all too well. It is responsible for setting off puberty. Produced primarily in the ovaries, estrogen regulates your menstrual cycle, it maintains pregnancy, and keeps bones strong for women, and men too, so watch out, world. So then, what are estrogens? They are a group of hormones that produce the development and maintenance of female characteristics in the body, and like Ms. Roselli said, men do have estrogen also. It's just at a lower level than it would be in a woman. Estrogen is not thought to affect the sperm count in men, but high estrogen levels in men can lead to things like gynecomastia and erectile dysfunction. So then gynecomastia would be the increase of breast tissue in a man. They can have low libido, low muscle tone, and an increase in fat tissue. And so what are androgens? Androgens is the group of hormones that play a role in the male traits and reproductive activity. So that would be like your testosterone. And again, females do have testosterone, just at a lower level than men do. And the testosterone helps play a role in the growth and maintenance of the female reproductive tissues and their bone mass. Now, too much testosterone in women can cause problems like PCOS or polycystic ovarian syndrome. And Rosalie will touch on that in just a minute. So then we have our testosterone. Surprisingly, this male sex hormone plays a big role for women too. It contributes to your sex drive, bone density, your muscle strength, but when the levels are too high, it can cause male pattern balding, which is a buzzkill. So then women have more estrogen, lower testosterone, and they go through what we have as menopause, and men have more testosterone, less estrogen, and they go through what we have as andropause.
Okay, so hormonal balance is really vital to a healthy body. So since our hormones essentially try to keep everything in balance, it makes sense that if our hormones aren't in balance, we won't be in balance, and then our health will kind of plummet. So hormonal imbalance is when you have too much or too little of any one hormone, like Ms. Schultz mentioned earlier, with hypothyroidism and hyperthyroidism. And fluctuations in hormones are natural, like when we go through puberty, but they can also be caused by an increase in toxins and an unhealthy lifestyle. So with most hormonal imbalances can be preventable and treatable. So we'll go through a couple today. So some signs of female hormonal imbalance would be heavy irregular periods, hot flashes, infertility, a deepening in the voice or weight gain. And then some signs for men can be a cognitive decline, erectile dysfunction, fatigue, loss of muscle mass, low sex drive, and also weight gain. So a lot of these things are easy to say, oh, well, I'm just too tired, I'm working too much, but not having them treated can prolong their effects on your life as well as increase them. So it's good to recognize what they could be and not just say, oh, well, I might be overworked. So we'll go to the males first. So some of the most common hormonal imbalances found in men are andropause, adrenal fatigue, and hypothyroidism and hyperthyroidism that Ms. Joseph touched on earlier. So andropause is essentially known as the male version of menopause. Since men don't specifically go through a defined period, like once you hit 50, women can expect menopause, doctors refer to andropause as when androgens in the males decline just with age. So it's normal for males to experience this decline, but certain things can happen through this condition, such as the development of diabetes. But also symptoms that they'll notice is an increase in fat mass, a reduction in bone mass, so increased risk for osteoporosis, and then gynecomastia, like Chelsea mentioned, and just balding. We'll go to the females. So some of the most common for females are PCOS, diabetes, Cushing syndrome, and menopause. And then we'll touch on those. Cushing syndrome is known as hypercortisolism, and it can be caused by prolonged exposure to too much cortisol. So that can be identified through a little fat pad in the back, easily bruising, really thin arms and legs, and then a larger midsection that doesn't really match the rest of your body. So Cushing syndrome can also result in hypertension, bone loss or bone mass loss, and then on occasion type 2 diabetes. So it's also something that can be caused from prolonged exposure to corticosteroids that you take as a medicine, as well as the overproduction of cortisol from your body. And then we'll go to PCOS, so polycystic ovarian syndrome. So that is most common among women of reproductive age, and the exact cause of it is not known, but it's been linked to genetics, high level of androgens, and high level of insulin. So it's one of the most common, but it is one of the more treatable causes of infertility in women. And 70 to 50% of the women with PCOS do have an insulin resistance. So a way to treat PCOS would be losing excess weight, lowering your blood sugar, and checking that your hormones are in balance. And then menopause. Menopause is usually signaled by a 12-month absence of a menstrual period, and it's the natural decline of the female reproductive hormones that it can't really prevent that, but there is treatment for the symptoms. So it's like headaches, hot flashes, dryness in the skin, urinary incontinence, and there's also, since it happens to pretty much every woman, the symptoms are going to be different, so it's not all a one-treat-fits-all type of thing. Then ways to balance your hormones, essentially balancing your life, reducing your personal stress, tracking what you eat, making sure you have good eating habits. If you aren't getting enough vegetables in your diet, you can try putting them in a smoothie to help you drink them for breakfast. Getting enough exercise, drinking a lot of water, deep breathing, mindful breathing that I mentioned in the stress class. And then aromatherapy is something that can help people relax. Getting a diffuser and putting a couple of drops of essential oils, and that can help as well. And then, since toxins can affect your hormonal balance, a lot of ways, doing a lot of things that can help cut down your exposure to toxins can also help if you're experiencing any hormonal imbalances. So choosing hormone-free meat and dairy, non-GMOs, using wild-caught fish versus farm-raised fish, using produce that hasn't been sprayed with any pesticides, and then if you store your food in a container, try to have it as a glass container instead of plastic. But then if you do use plastic, try not to heat up the plastic or put it in the microwave because toxins from the plastic can leach into your food. And then if you're cleaning and you're using strong chemicals in your house like bleach, try to open up all the windows and allow the air to ventilate, and try to use gloves to help protect yourself. Okay.
Alright, so in conclusion, if you eat healthy,
Get adequate exercise and sleep,
avoid GMOs in your diet,
and be mindful of your stress levels. Your hormones shouldn't be a problem for you.
they should be balanced.
Any triumphs, any victories, health victories? Yeah, oh, Billy, yes, go ahead.
I was taking 3 medications for my stomach and now I'm down to 1.
All right. Very good, awesome, very good. So taking through now down to 1. So fantastic, good job, Liddell. All right, any others?
Well, man, I had pain in my gut all the time. It's intermittent now, but it's going away. I mean, almost like I don't even recognize it anymore. I'm thinking it's just something else, and it feels good.
Good, real great. And a lot of things we find out happen in our gut when we're eating things
Oh, yeah.
that are causing inflammation. All right. So great job, good job. We like to hear those. So if you guys want to share that on video, you definitely can. To add to your storyline. And so we're looking for victories. Once again, we have the medication termination station. So if you have partial medication that you don't no longer need, you want to terminate it in the termination station, we like for you to do that as well. And if there's anything, we will put your picture up and say, hey, you got rid of that medication. Because medication cause problems in the long term when it's chronic. Because if you guys haven't gone to mitagen.com and checked out medication you may be on and what it's doing to you, because it's taking away nutrients. And what does our body need to repair itself? Nutrients.